I don't want to keep making videos talking about how North America is in trouble when it comes to our competitive League of Legends circuit, by whatever name you want to call it at this point. But then more articles come out about Riot's leadership and Riot's choices that they're continuously making, and I don't have a goddamn choice. Because change only happens whenever you are persistent with it in the media. If you just bring something up once and never bring it up again, the snowball stops. You have to use this momentum and keep it going. So let's take a step back as to why we're talking about this again. I didn't release my reaction to Travis Gafford's video talking about how he wants the name of LTA to go back to LTS, similar to HBO going back to HBO Max, because it felt like I was kind of beating a dead horse. And while I made some points and I made some shorts out of it by reacting to it, it was like, I don't think it needs a standalone video. Travis's video is good enough as is. And it really did kind of get the ball rolling on community sentiment around it. Now, I've been public for a long period of time now that I want to see the LCS name come back. That doesn't mean that that's the only problem out there, but it's an easy layup that's easier for marketing. And for me, just like titling YouTube videos at a minimum is a pain in the ass because you can't mention LTA. Nobody searches LTA at all. LCS literally gets more traction still than LTA whenever you search it. It's wild. Like, it's wild as a content creator. I've just been like, oh, we cannot keep doing this. But then Riot decided to respond to Travis's video, to the public sentiment around all of this, to everything. And it is one of the most brain dead responses you will ever see in your life from a company. So let's go over this article. And first, preface this by saying to Cecilia, who wrote this article, she's actually been on this channel before. We reacted to the God's music video together back in 2023. Love her work. She was very good in this article in terms of just asking the questions and putting the information out there in terms of like an unbiased journalist point of view. I really hope people don't go after her as a result of this, which they shouldn't. But you never know with today's media age that I sometimes have to caveat that. So she sat down with Carlos and Tunis, who, for those of you that don't know the hierarchy, it's like Mark Z at the bottom as LTA commissioner, Carlos as head of League of Legends esports in the Americas, Raul, who's head of LoL esports, I believe. Forgot. Chris Greeley above Raul, and then Chris Greeley reports into John Needham. That is like the order of five, the five that we are talking about when it comes to LoL esports management, upper management at Riot. Riot clearly does read stuff on the internet, despite what some people might say, and their response, let me just read this verbatim. Honestly, we're not here to argue whether the rebrand succeeded or failed. Fans feel how they feel, and that's valid. I'm like, that's an actual sentence. Like, here's the thing. I get, like, when we're deciphering these words, you have to realize that this is all corporate PR speak. This whole thing is PR. So what does this mean? We're not here to argue whether it succeeded or not. It's like, okay, well, clearly they're not going to make a decision on that right now. Like, they're monitoring feedback. Obviously, they're seeing it, and they're not going to opine publicly with whether the public's wrong or not, which is smart because you shouldn't ever disagree with the public discourse that's going around you unless something really needs corrected. And the reality is Riot has messed up massively on the marketing of this product. Nobody cares for it in any way, shape, or form. So, like, from the public eye, we can sit here and say, yeah, you know what? You failed. And Riot can't really argue that, period. So they can say that they're not here to, but the reality is you can't. It is objectively true that this rebrand has failed. You've lost viewership, you have lost market value, you have lost so much more on this. The amount of money that went into this rebrand for all this to happen, like, that is just tragically bad. So yeah, you can't argue because it is just bad. Simple as that. Cecilia goes on in this article then to lay out some of the situation around all this, talks about Travis's video, talks about Carver Fisher's statement on social media where he talked about the search engine optimization stuff. I'm not going to recap all of that, but we can jump into the next quote that Riot said, where they said, quote, "The conversation often is just on the name change, and there's actually way more going on beneath the surface." Where, according to Riot, the LTA design was modernized for competitive format to spotlight local rivalries and offer fans more consistent and emotional resonant storylines, ones that unfold week by week. Bottom line, there's nothing set in stone. We're learning, we're adapting, and we're committing to building something that fans genuinely love. Oh, as if I needed to hear that goddamn line one more time from another Riot talking head trying to come out here and not have an honest, genuine conversation with us. Before I break these down, before like I go deeper into these points, let me just speak on Riot's PR strategy and press here. It's a abysmal. All right. What people want in today's day and age is just somebody to come out and genuinely talk to them. We want to have an honest conversation. If you can come out here and tell us, hey, this product was dying, we needed to try something extreme, all right, and we can have this conversation, then people wouldn't be as upset by this. Look at Adam Silver, for example. Like, the NBA Finals were going on. He's doing his press leading up to everything. He's appearing on television shows, on podcasts, going out there and fielding arguably select community questions and select people. Because obviously, like, for example, whenever I did my interview with Joe Marsh, when I did it with Arnold from Gen G, Jungle Juice from 100 Thieves, like, I talked to them before and I was like, hey, are there things that we can't talk about that you won't? Because, like, out of respect of you coming onto my platform, my podcast, my thing, I need to obviously extend an olive branch to you in good faith and say, hey, if there's things that you don't want to talk about, fine. I'm going to disclose that up front to people, noting that, like, we are not going to talk about this and just be very clear about that. But I just want to give you the chance to, let me know that. You can come out and have these conversations because, like, the thing that has annoyed the league community for such a long period of time is, like, John Needham only made public appearances on Travis's channel. There was no interaction beyond that. And while Travis did ask some good questions throughout all of that, we never really got the conversation because they don't come out and talk to us all that often. And because of that, you feel like you have to rapid fire through so many different questions over the course of an hour that you saw Travis, like, he clearly wanted to have more time on certain topics and couldn't because he had so much more to get to that he needed to touch base on, which leaves us with this open-ended point of view where it's like none of us feel satisfied with the answers that are given. On the LTA front, the first question that needs to be asked here is like, okay, cool, you started this new league, you have all these, like, objectives that I don't think necessarily align with how things actually should happen going forward. But at a minimum, why didn't you market it then? Where's your marketing budget? Are you out of money? Like, I know you can't directly say that you're out of money, but can you at least acknowledge that you didn't market enough? You have to acknowledge your failures, acknowledge the honest to God shortcomings that you've had in this entire process in order for us to be able to have a healthy conversation going forward. Otherwise, the animosity is always going to exist between myself, the media, everybody else, the fans, and Riot. We are going to blame you if you cannot sit here and be honest and talk to us. These statements are terrible at doing that, especially when half of it feels like a lie. Because let's get into these. We know that the problems that exist for North American League of Legends extend well beyond the name. That's not the point of this conversation. And everybody knows it. And Riot knows that. You can cherry pick a few people that are, like, really focused on it, but we all are saying, hey, this is just the easiest layup win that you can take. And the rest from there, I know it's going to take a while to work on, but we still need to. You have to give it a chance. The formats suck. We are struggling when it comes to new players coming up. The personalities of those players, unfortunately, do not mesh well in the modern social media landscape. All things that I brought up on this channel that we've talked about in depth, that, yeah, it is a problem. We do have to figure them out. That doesn't mean that just by asking you for a name change, I'm not also addressing the other things, like wanting to get League out of LA, because I think the crowd in LA is terrible. Like, there's a lot of other things going on here that, yes, we should focus on, but you can just change the name back like that. That's an easy change. That's why people are so focused on this, because you're not even doing the easiest one of the group. But then there are additional statements. They want to modernize the competitive format. You made the format worse. Like, let's be honest. You made the format worse in every way, shape, or form, because most specifically, you took out an MSI slot for North America for no reason. You didn't. You consolidated in a way that does not make sense, especially when for EWC, which happens just barely after MSI, we still get two teams going and the South gets one. So why couldn't you do that for MSI? Why couldn't you give both the North and the South two teams? Which I know you're going to say is like, oh, that might not be fair to the other regions because they're going to see you guys as like one region. Why would we send 4 teams for one region? You make the rules. You could just sit here and say, no, like they're two different conferences, or call them two different leagues that, eventually come together. But you are the one creating that problem. You are the one creating that dialogue because of your terrible format and the terrible structure of everything else around it. Spotlighting local rivalries is an even weirder one because, like, we don't play against the South. We play against them a total, I think, like 6 days, because you got split one playoffs, which were just best of threes, and you have at most probably 3 best of fives in actual split 3 or like America's finals in summer. That's it. How are you supposed to have a rivalry between that? And also, the rivalry's on a local level for North America. Let's be honest. Like, there's no modern rivalry here. And they're likely going to be removing 100 Thieves from the league and finding somebody else if I had to place my guess. So you're going to be removing a potential rivalry there as well between them and Team Liquid or them and any other org that they've kind of been going against. So I have no clue what you mean that the LTA was designed to spot like this, because it didn't do that at all. And most importantly, offer fans consistent and emotionally resonant storylines. What storylines? What? Shopify is the only one that I can think of that's like really giving us anything right now. And that's because it has nothing to do with you. It just has to do with Ludwig having an org and coming in and Ludwig's org turning it around whenever we needed them to the most, whenever we needed somebody to step up and do their best to try and help boost viewership in some way, shape, or form. So I don't know what Riot means here. I know they said they're not nailing it yet, but brother, you're not even just nailing it. Like, you're intentionally beating it over the head with a shovel and acting like, oh, well, why isn't it working anymore? It's like you're beating it. What? All that said, we have one final quote that we have to go over, which Riot says, "We knew things might start off slower, and it takes time for people to get used to something new. When it comes to bringing fans back and introducing new fans, it's going to take a continued effort." You haven't been putting in that effort, Riot. You haven't. The only teams that are really smurfing it consistently are the graphics team, like the people that like put on the actual production of the broadcast. I think North America's product itself is absolutely incredible when it's like on the Rift, but everything else around that has been stifled. And I know because people have told me that like you are the ones that are handicapping them. Like, we haven't seen a Drive episode in God knows how long. We haven't seen any of these content pieces to get people invested in storylines. Like, you're expecting like a pros podcast to do everything for you, and it's not. Like, you have to go above and beyond to try and help promote these storylines, promote these players whenever they are not comfortable doing it themselves. Clearly, it's your league and you bear some responsibility in addition to the teams needing to step up as well. But I've already called out the teams on that front. But you gave people the perfect opportunity to step away last year with that closing ceremony for the LCS. And the perfect like ending game with the minion ending it all. Like, you got to realize that it was the perfect time for people to call it quits, especially with all the changes and everything else going on around us. And all you did in response was just change the name, change the format in the worst way, and piss off North American fans by stripping our international status down to just one team. Yeah, understandably, North American fans felt disrespected and many tuned out. You've done nothing to earn their trust back. You've done nothing to give them a product that they want to tune into that's notably different than the declining LCS product that you had before. You haven't done any of that. Just changing the name to something worse, surprisingly, only made it worse. You have nobody but yourself to blame for that. So here's your steps forward. Change it back to the LCS, period. Revamp the splits so that games are actually meaningful. Get rid of these guys. Like, I don't ever want to see best of ones ever again. We need more best of fives. I understand the more days of gameplay is like a tough conversation for people. I personally am happier with it being online. I think we need more days of games, period. I don't think there's much Riot can personally do about people just simply not playing the game, but at minimum, the last thing is that you got to get this league out of Los Angeles. Having one road show in Texas this year, but then nothing else. Like, we were in LA all of last year. You got to be on the road more. You got to be on the road at least 3 times a year, 3 to 4 times minimum. You got to be willing to go to DreamHack and all these other events. I beat that horse to death over the last few weeks, so I'm not going to bore you anymore with it. But just know the answers are there. And whether you want to save this league or not is entirely up to you. But the reality is, if it keeps going at the current pace, it's going to be dead in a few years. I'm not happy with that. I don't accept that, which is why I'm pushing for you to change it back to the LCS and make these other changes as well. We'll see where your real heart lies and where your real intentions lie. But at a minimum, the people that made these choices in the first place should be ashamed. If not for the changes that you made, ashamed that you're not even willing to show your head in public to have the conversation with us. Not privately, not off the record, in front of everybody, and have the conversations that could restore faith in this community that you are actually trying to build a better product and not just sacking it for the sake of cost and, I don't know, letting it fade away. Couldn't even tell you what the intent is at this point.